afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Brainy Boomer Lecture Series. We're so very happy that you've all joined us this afternoon. In 2007, the McGill University Research Center for Studies in Aging, or the MCSA Education Committee, started the Brainy Boomer Lecture Series in order to suggest practical steps to both improve and maintain brain health, as well as to promote healthy lifestyle choices amongst the most populous generation in history. The MCSA's Education Committee, which was founded in 1996, has three main objectives: identifying education needs of healthcare providers, seniors, caregivers, and the public, and to develop responses to meet some of those needs; to enhance the positive image of the aging process by addressing stereotypes and myths about aging; and finally, the dissemination of research on aging. Clara Yan is a graduate student from the Dietetic and Credentialing Program of the School of Human Nutrition at McGill University. She graduated from Mount St. Vincent University with a master's degree in applied human nutrition in 2016 and worked in Toronto for 2 years in nutrition counseling before coming to McGill. She is passionate about human nutrition, particularly in type 2 diabetes management, probiotics, and human well-being. She is doing her community stage now and is expected to graduate at the end of 2021 to be a registered dietitian. Before continuing, we would just like to remind you to please mute your microphone on Zoom, and that if you have any questions, you can either wait till the end of the conference to ask them, or you could write them down in the chat box on Zoom. And now I'd like to invite Clara to start her presentation, Nutrition and COVID.
Thank you very much, Kaylin, for the nice intro. Hi, everyone. I'm Clara. I'm a graduate dietetic student from McGill University, and I'm currently doing my stage rotation with the Servizi. Today, I'm glad to present you the presentation that I prepared with the topic of nutrition and COVID. I've been trying to gather all the relevant information for this topic from reputable resources, including federal and provincial guidelines, and many other reliable authorities. So my purpose of this presentation is to present you with most up-to-date, valid, and practical information on nutrition and COVID. So let's get it started. Are you eating well during the COVID-19 pandemic? Okay, I have 3 sections to talk about today during this 45 minutes presentation. The first section is some quick review info about the pandemic. And the second section is about how to eat well during pandemic. And lastly, we will look at some tips for eating well on a budget. Okay, so section 1, COVID-19 pandemic. How does the virus spread and how do people get infected? The virus is spread by respiratory droplet transmission. When an infected person coughs, sneezes, speaks, sings, and breathes heavily, the droplet will fly out and stay in the air for a period of time or fall down on a surface. So healthy people will get infected if they are exposed or have a contact with the virus. Nose, eyes, and mouth are the entry sites for the viruses and bacteria. How to protect ourselves and the others? Well, it's been over a year now since COVID. I believe we all know and we all familiar with the content on this slide. But since it's still spreading in the community, we're just going to quickly review about the most recent guidelines from Quebec government. So never trust our hands and wash them often. Cover our face, limit traveling, and keep 2 meters apart. That's a length of a hockey stick. Also, cough into your elbow would protect ourselves and the others. So who is at the risk of more severe outcomes? Actually, people at any age can be infected with the virus, but for those with chronic medical conditions like lung and heart disease, and for those with cancer and medications that lower the immune system, for example, chemotherapy, those population will be at risk of more severe outcomes. Also, for people living with obesity and older adults, like age above 60, this population is also at risk of more severe outcomes. Here is something that I'd like to emphasize on. In spite of the COVID situation, the older adults are still encouraged to go to their doctor's appointments and do their regular checkups, and also to purchase and take the prescribed medications as you usually do. I believe that this pandemic has been difficult for everyone. People's lives have been changed dramatically, and it's right to feel stressed. So what can we do to distress ourselves? Maintain good sleep habits would help, like 7 to 9 hours per night, and build physical activity into our daily life would also help. Well, if you are flexible enough, like this girl in the picture, you can perhaps try it at home. But for majority of people, the recommended physical activities include, for example, to go for a walk in your neighborhood before the curfew, well, unless you have a dog, or do meditation to calm yourself. There are many online exercise classes as well that you can maybe search and follow, like yoga or cardio exercises. MCSA's YouTube channel also have some recorded exercise classes, so check it out if you're interested. Also, your local recreational and community centers might have many great resources too, so don't forget to talk to them about that. Another fun fact to look at, thanks to the COVID, is the diet changes. There was a survey conducted last year by Dr. Nielsen's team from McGill University School of Human Nutrition. They looked into what were some diet changes in Quebec in 2020, last year. The survey was conducted during the summertime. 80% participants were female, and half of the participants were at age of 59 and above. So the survey showed that there was a decrease in meat protein consumption, an increase in sweet, salty snacks, and fruit and vegetables intake. It also found that people did online grocery shopping more, from 8.7% in 2019 to 26% during the pandemic. That was a big increase. And more people started to grow their own food. And there was an increased interest in home cooking and fermenting. Have you tried any fermented foods? Sourdough bread can be one of the most common fermented foods that we see in Canada. Okay, how about let's get some participation here. Along with some facts that we saw due to COVID-19, there were also some tricky questions or statements came out from somewhere by someone. So I have 2 true or false questions here. Would like to see what you think. So first one, drinking alcohol will protect you from COVID-19. So do you think, is this true or false? Well, you can type your answer in the chat box. To ease your work, you can do T as a true or false, F as a false, or if you feel comfortable, you can unmute yourself and let me know your answer. So do you think, is this true or false? Okay, I see answers coming in. Oh yeah, false, 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 all false. Excellent, you guys are absolutely right. So the answer is false. Drinking alcohol will not protect us from COVID-19, but using alcohol-based hand sanitizer will clean our hands and reduce the risk of infection. Second one, this is actually a tricky one. So vitamin C supplements can protect you from COVID-19 and are good for your immunity. Do you think, is this true or false? What do you think, people? Let me know your answer.
True.
True. I got a true.
For immunity.
Yes, true. Oh, I have a false. True. Oh, false and true. Oh, Maria, you got true, false. Okay, interesting. So,
but good for immunity, no?
Yeah, okay. Okay, so first, the answer is false.
Salt.
Yeah. Almost all nutrients can help our immune system in some way, including vitamin C. So this is the true part. But
Yeah.
some research suggests that vitamin C may, some research suggests that vitamin C may make your immune system stronger. So that is correct. But there is no good evidence that tell us to take a supplement to improve our immunity. Because we can get enough vitamin C from fresh vegetable and fruits easily for a daily need. For example, 2 kiwi fruits will give you the amount that you need for every day. So it seems that there is no need to take a supplement to have the result that we expected. Okay, so what would be some factors that can affect immunity then? The purpose of this slide is to show you that there are so many things that can affect our immunity. So I have a 15 listed here, not only by nutrition, but nutrition definitely is an important part of the game. So from nutrient intake, sleep, physical fitness, even pollution, they all can affect our immunity. So our immunity is really affected by multiple factors. The first column, highlighted in the green, are the factors can serve positive impact on our immunity. For example, with proper nutrition, it benefits our immune system. With proper sleep, physical activity, vaccination, and gut microbiome, they can all improve our immunity. So the proper gut microbiome means that there are good bacteria and a good amount of good bacteria in your gut. So you see, immunity is determined by multiple factors rather than only one or two. So in the end of this section, I'd like to emphasize that there is no single food, supplement, or natural product that will prevent COVID-19, but healthy eating can benefit and support our immune function. I believe that the term of healthy eating is not a strange term to you, isn't it? You must have heard about it for so many times from different health professionals. So what does a healthy eating mean? And what do we need to do in order to comply with this healthy eating that everyone is talking about? Does it mean that I have to eat like a rabbit? No, not really. So now it brings us to the section 2, how to eat well during the pandemic. First of all, I'd like to briefly talk about the Canada's Food Guide. I believe many of you have heard about it as well. A dietitian called Yufi Zhan actually talked about it in depth last year in his presentation. The recorded video is available on MCSA's YouTube channel. If you're interested, feel free to check it out. For me, there are 2 points that I'd like to address. So one of the main messages that the guide is trying to tell us is to eat a variety of food every day. So the variety means that to have different types of veggies and fruits. See how colorful this side is? So that's what variety means. And also to have different types of protein foods with a focus of more on the plant-based foods like legumes or tofu. Also with different types of whole grain foods such as whole grain bread or brown rice, etc. Another main message is about proportion. So doesn't matter if you're going to have a bigger meal with a big plate like this, or if you're going to have a smaller meal with a smaller plate. So the proportion applies to each of the way. So all you want to do is to fill your plate with plenty of vegetables and fruits with proper amount of protein and whole grains. So this is another important message from the guide, which is proportion. So in this picture, I have a full plate of pasta. It looks really good, but how can we make it a healthier choice? Ideally, We want to make it filled with half plate of vegetables and add a proper amount of protein like this. But even if we have a less amount of the vegetables than the ideal amount, it is still considered as a healthier choice, right? And the protein part is something that I like to really emphasize because it is super important for the seniors. Why? Because consuming protein not only maintain muscle mass and strength, but also bone health. Human bodies process protein less efficient when we get older, and the statistics show that people eat less protein when we get older too. That's why be sure to include protein foods in each of your meal. So after talk about the main message of the Canada's food guide, it's a great time for me to introduce you a lovely house that I designed, and we're gonna build it together here. So it brings out another concept about eating well during the pandemic, which is healthy eating is more than the food you eat. Let's say this is a house of healthy eating. Just like a house needs a foundation, healthy eating needs one too. So nutritious foods can be understood as the foundation. We need a nice and strong foundation to build up the house in order to build some other parts. So the foundation is super important. Well, this house now looks quite busy. Please let me talk about it one by one. I'd like to be more specific with you on what does nutritious food exactly mean. It means that the foods that are nutrient dense and are whole foods. So nutrient dense means that the food contain more of nutrients with less of calories, for example, vegetables and fruits. And the whole foods means that before you eat it, it is less processed, like whole grains, whole grain bread. So this is the foundation of a healthy eating. Then what's the next? It's eating with others. Since we are isolated from friends and families, from other households, eating with others plays an important role in healthy eating, especially during the pandemic. I'm aware that people might have a different pace of life, even they live under the same roof, but they don't have time to eat meals together due to different reasons. So if you live with your families or maybe with your roommates, try to arrange your time to sit and eat with them together without any distractions from electronic devices. If you live alone, live alone, maybe try to arrange virtual brunch, lunch, or dinner with your families and friends so that you will still stay connected with them and eat scheduled meals. Okay, the second room we're going to build is to enjoy the food. Making eating an important part of your life and take time to eat. To do that, we can chew food thoroughly to experience all the aromas, textures, flavors, and the taste, or try to grow your own food maybe. By experiencing from seeding to harvest, it may make you enjoy your own food much more. Well, growing our own food doesn't mean that we have to live in a house or have a big backyard. If you live in an apartment like me, maybe we can try to grow something small. For example, herbs or cherry tomatoes in the pot. Well, winter is very restricted to grow our own foods, but it might be a good time for us to look for some information and get ourselves ready for the spring. The third room we're going to build is eating mindfully. Another dietitian called Vanessa Maggio, she gave a talk last year at MCSA as well. So she talked about mindful eating in her video in depth. If you are interested about that topic, feel free to check it out. There will be some directional information in my flyer that helps you to find the video. So in my presentation, I only would like to emphasize on the idea of mindfulness is awareness. So It means that you are able to notice when you're hungry and when you're full. Also, to be aware of your own hunger cues. Ask yourself, why am I about to eat? Am I going to eat because I'm stressed or because I'm bored, nothing to do? Or is that because the food is so accessible since I stay home all day long? So be aware of your own hunger cues is a part of the awareness that I'd like to address. Something else here I'd also like to make you aware is that the awareness doesn't only mean that you know when you don't need to eat. It also means that you know when you do need to eat. So I had the experience that if I'm too focused on my work, sometimes I don't feel hungry at all, even for 8 hours. So I just keep working and I don't go eat. So this is actually where the awareness kicks in as well, which is that we also need to be aware, when do we need to eat? If you experience the same, just like me, maybe scheduled times to eat would help with your eating habits. By having meals regularly, even with maybe a small little portion, it helps us to develop a feeling of hunger. Awareness doesn't only apply on your meals, but also snacks. Do you remember the survey that was conducted by Dr. Nielsen's team from McGill last year? They found that except increased fruit and vegetable consumption, people ate sweet and salty snacks more often too during the pandemic. So snacking mindfully and choose healthy ones to eat are recommended. It is actually not something temporary or like a fashion. Instead, it's more about forming a mindful and healthy snacking habit that stays for a lifetime. Also, try to limit highly processed snacks, for example, sugary drinks, candies, frozen desserts, and processed meats like sausages and deli meat. You might wonder here, are you saying that I need to say goodbye to all of these types of food in my lifetime? No, not really. We can for sure to eat and enjoy them, but the point is, when we limit consumption, we limit the intake of unnecessary sodium, sugar, or saturated fat. If eating too much sodium, sugar, or saturated fat, it increases the risk of chronic disease. Here are some ideas of healthy snacks. If you want something fast and healthy, how about try sliced cucumbers and red peppers or carrots with hummus or lower fat yogurt? If you miss the dedication of the appetizer when we go to a restaurant, how about have some lower fat cheese and whole grain crackers with cherry tomatoes on the top? Or if you crave for some sweet, try this, whole grain toast with nut butter and a banana. Or if you want something refreshing, how about try lower fat yogurt topped with frozen berries and nuts? In this slide, I have 3 ways to help you to practice mindful and healthy snacking. First, the most important one is we need to remember it. We need to remember that we are practicing it and to give yourself an opportunity to choose between your options. For example, instead of opening a bag of M&Ms, take a pause to think about, is there something else healthier that I can go for? So if you have dark chocolate, yes, that's a healthier option. If you want to have a muffin, how about let's try a toast with nut butter and banana? If you want to have some Pepsi, how about try sparkling water with some lemon or lime juice, or add some herbs to taste? By the way, did you see? A liter of sparkling water is actually less expensive than a liter of a liter of Pepsi, and it gives you little added sugar. Sorry about that. Then snacking mindfully when you feel hungry rather than when you feel bored or emotional. If we eat too many snacks, we are less likely to feel hungry. So we're less likely to eat meals. to plan your snacks ahead of time to include a variety of healthy foods for your snacks. So the important point here is the variety of foods. Remember, the variety we talked about before, it doesn't only apply to your meals, but also snacks. The last room we're going to build is to cook more often. It's actually great to see from literature that people cook more often at home now. That is great. So what would be some strategies to make cooking at home more fun? For example, try new recipes or attend virtual cooking classes with your friends. There will be some cooking classes that prepared by my peers coming out in the next few months, so stay tuned about that. If you live with children, how about having them make a simple dish like fruit salad? It will bring joys to the family and will help the children to form a healthy eating habit too. If you are caregivers, maybe find some easy tasks for your family to do in the cooking process. It can ease your burden actually. Even maybe have them to peel your garlic or maybe chop the onions. Well, it depends on you. It helps a lot, and it also will make them feel engaged. The very last part of the house of eating, healthy eating is the roof. It includes food labels, food marketing, and food safety. For food labels, dietitian Yufi Zhan had a nice talk on how to use food labels to choose between food products. So feel free to refer to his videos. For be aware of the food marketing, here I wanna say that we really need to realize that the purpose of advertisement or attractive food packages are for big companies to sell their products and to make us to pay for it. So the intention of the marketing is more about to turn their products into money, less about helping you to form healthy eating habits. So be aware about that and try to make informed food choices by reading food labels are something really wise to do. Okay, the last one is food safety. Another true or false question here. Do you think COVID-19 can be transmitted through food? Do you think this is true or false? Still, same, true is, T is true, F is false, or you shout it out, let me know your answer. I have some false and I have some true, false, true, well, mixed with false and true, yeah. Okay, so let's see if this is true or false. Okay, the answer is not really. Coronaviruses are generally thought to be spread from a person to person through respiratory droplets. Currently, there is no evidence to support transmission of COVID-19 associated with food. There are no confirmed cases of COVID-19 being spread through food or food packaging. How about this one? Should we wash fruit and vegetables in detergent? What do you think? Yes or no? No, no. Most answers I got here is no. Okay. Okay, I see the answers. Interesting. Thanks for your participation, by the way. The answer is no. So it is not recommended to wash fruits and vegetables with soap or detergent because fruits and veggies have porous surfaces. So you risk consuming residues from soaps and detergents, which could cause harmful health effects. So the risk of contracting COVID-19 from fruits and vegetables is very low. So to conclude what we just went through about the building this house of healthy eating. So healthy eating is more than the food you eat, especially during the pandemic. So except the foundation of nutritious food, which is super important, we want to also try eat with others, enjoy your food, eat mindfully, and cook more often. Also to know how to read food labels to make informed food decisions and to be aware of food marketing and also food safety are a part of the healthy eating as well during the pandemic. So now the house has been built. Although a healthy eating pattern is important for your overall health, there are no specific foods or supplements that can prevent you from catching COVID-19. Okay, now we come to the last section of the presentation. This is a fun part, which is eating well on a budget. So I will be talking about it from 6 strategies: looking for sales and get the deals, plan for your grocery trip, stick to your list, store food properly, reduce food waste, and digest recipes. First foremost, one of the most useful information I want to give you is about how to use flyers. Do you use flyers to guide your grocery shopping? If yes, excellent. Let's see, is there anything else we can build it up based on what you know? If no, don't worry, you got covered today. So there will be some useful information that you can take it home. You can either use paper flyers to know what is on sale, or there are some great apps or websites that gathers all the flyers from different stores for you to look at. Here, I have 4 amazing apps for flyers or web resources for flyers, except the first one, circular.ca, it doesn't have an app. The rest of them, you can maybe browse them on your computer with a bigger screen from their website, or you can download it to your smartphone and to take a look from there. So you would need to locate yourself with a postal code and find stores that are near you. And also the last thing is, don't forget to compare the prices. That is very important. For example, IGA and Super C are the 2 stores that are near me. The flyers that I'm showing you now, they are actually valid till tomorrow. So look at the prices for the grapes. IGA has $1.74 per pound and Super C has $2.99 per pound. Although I thought that usually the price in Super C is cheaper than the IGA's, but if we try to get the deals and avoid spending the money that we can save, we really have to check and compare the prices. So after knowing which store offers what deals and it's time to plan for the grocery trip, prepare a shopping list before stepping out your door can prevent you from unplanned purchasing. It's also very helpful to make the items on your list organized by categorizing the type of food. For example, in my list, I have bananas, grapes, oranges, and blueberries listed under the fruits category. And I have broccoli, tomatoes, etc. under vegetable category. I have a whole grain bread pasta under the grain products and some other, for example, salmon, eggs, low-fat yogurt, those protein food listed under the protein categories. You may wonder, why do you want to do this? Or why do I want to do this? Because you want to reduce the time you are going to stay in the store to reduce the risk of catching the virus. Instead of strolling for 30 minutes in a store, we can be determinate on the items that we want to get and only maybe take 15 minutes to get everything done. Also, when we look at the list we made, take a look of it to see if it reflects the Canada's food guide. So what you buy usually will be what you eat in the end. So try to have more items under your fruit and vegetables category rather than the others. It will be also helpful to set a reasonable budget based on your financial situation. Then plan meals and snacks by following Canada's food guide. We can think about what do I have in my pantry and what do I need for the coming week. Also, since it is recommended for seniors to reduce the times to visit and stay in the stores, it will be also very nice to think about, do you have to shop in person? Or would you be able to order stuff online and let the store prepare for your order? You just go for a pickup. Or how about online shopping and get it delivered? These are something great to think, but for the last option, there might be assembling and delivery fees. So in my opinion, the safest way to go could be order your stuff online and we just go for a pickup. Well, if you shop in person, make sure to avoid peak hours like weekends. So I'd like to quickly say that frozen and canned foods are good choices too. Frozen, canned, or dried food like legumes are convenient and long-lasting. And frozen fruits are picked at the peak of the ripeness and quickly frozen and packaged for selling. So it is just nutritious as the fresh ones. Overall, for frozen, canned, and dry food, we want to choose little to no added sodium, saturated fat, and little to no added free sugar options too. After looking at the flyers and the plan for the trip, the next we need to do is just to stick to your list. Only by what you planned and will need, because there are sales every week and every day. Save the new ideas and unplanned expenses for the next week. Try not to shop when you are hungry and avoid impulse buying. At the beginning of the pandemic, some people experienced panic buying. According to Government of Quebec and Dietitians of Canada, there is no need to fear food shortage. It makes sense actually to gradually build up household stores just in case if you're sick. So adding a couple of pantry staples into your cart every time when you go shopping, rather than large-scale purchasing, is actually recommended. Okay, so you might wonder, what is the pantry stable? Okay, so I have a list here for you. First of all, the term pantry staples, sometimes people use it not only including the items can stay in the pantry, but also some stable foods that can stay in the freezer. So in your pantry, you can prepare some canned stuff. For example, canned beans, soup, sauce, vegetables, fish, and also sodium reduced broth or pasta and rice. In the fridge, it's good to have some eggs, yogurt, carrots, and lemons. And in the freezer, frozen vegetables and fruits, whole grain bread, low-fat meat and poultry, and also nuts are something good to have. Another fun concept that I thought is nice to mention is about the shop the perimeter. If we overlook the layout of a grocery store, usually the necessities that we need are at the edge of the store. So you will have fresh fruit, vegetables at the entrance. Then you will see meat, poultry, seafood, and deli meat. And if you keep walking at the edge, you will have dairy and eggs, some maybe fresh breads and frozen fruit and vegetables. So keep this general map in mind would help you find your food faster. Okay, now you get your food back. Store it properly can make it last longer and stay fresh. So what do we need to do? Do you know that some produce releases a type of gas called ethylene that ripens itself in others nearby produce. Avoid storing the gas-producing foods with other vegetables can prevent early spoilage and keep the veggies long-lasting. Ripe bananas and kiwi fruits are the examples of gas producer. So to know what else releases the gas, you can find more info in my flyer. This picture here shows you where to place different types of items. So upper shelves is good for ready-to-eat food, the food that you don't need to cook. And for the middle shelves, you can put your dairy products like milk or yogurt, cheese, and eggs. For the bottom shelves, it's good for wrapped raw meat and the fish. And in the drawers, it's good for vegetables and fruits. For the door, we can put sauce or preservatives there. So this is how to wisely place different items in the fridge that can keep them last longer. Herbs are expensive. I believe we all know that. If we don't store them the way they like, they go bad fast. Like the dried and wilted cilantro in the picture, and your money is wasted too. So here are some tips for herbs and vegetables that need special care. For delicate herbs like cilantro, parsley, or mint, it needs to be washed, then cut the bases of the stems, then transfer them to a glass with an inch of water and cover loosely with a plastic bag. So that's the way those delicate herbs like. For other herbs like oregano, rosemary, and thyme, we can roll it in a damp paper towel and store in the fridge. For asparagus, store them in a glass of water and the stalks upright. Next is about reducing food waste. It is reported that 58% of food produced in Canada is lost or wasted each year. And do you know that the average Canadian household spends more than $1,700 on food that is wasted every year? So arranging food storage properly can prevent food from spoilage and save money. We need to put attention at the back of the pantry and the fridge and to follow the FIFO rule. So what is that? It is first in, first out. It means that for the items you put in first, get them out first too. So this way, it prevents food from being forgotten and expired, so to save the money. Another way to reduce food waste is to use and store leftovers. Labeling the date and the type of the leftovers that goes in the freezer is a smart way to save it for later and also avoid confusion. So about how long can cooked food last in your freezer, you can find the information, a resource link in my flyer. Okay, the last strategy to eat well on a budget is to adjust recipes based on your inventory and what is on sale. For example, if a recipe calls for fresh tomatoes for pasta sauce, you can try canned diced tomatoes if that's what you have. If a recipe calls for fresh fruits, frozen fruits might work well too. I have to mention that especially for bakeries, frozen fruits might work better than the fresh ones. For diced chicken in a salad, try to use canned chickpeas or beans. Having plant-based protein is also recommended by Canada's Food Guide. This delicious and nutritious recipe is adapted from Canada's Food Guide. You can find it in my flyer. It is budget-friendly and freezer-friendly. So if you live alone or only cook for 2 people, you can save the leftover in a sealed tight container for later or when you don't feel like to cook. The recipe is for a serving of 6. So feel free to use the half of the ingredients to make a serving of 3 if you prefer. If you try to or want to find healthy and tasty recipes, check out Canada's Food Guide and Heartstroke Foundation's website. You can find the resources links in my flyer too. Okay, to sum up the take-home messages of my presentation, the house of healthy eating is one of an important one. So remember to have your foundation built first, a nice and strong foundation that is built with nutritious foods, and also eat with others, enjoy your food, eating mindfully and cooking more often are crucial points during the pandemic. Be aware of food marketing and safety, and read food labels to make informed decisions are also important parts in healthy eating. Another message is about grocery shopping. So to use flyers to check and compare the prices, make shopping list before you go, reduce your shopping time in store and considering order online, and store foods wisely to reduce food waste. Also, experiment with some substituting ingredients in the recipe are some practical tips that we can apply to our daily life. So you don't have to try to do all of them, just maybe pick one and try it to see how does it work for you. To look for trustworthy COVID and nutrition information, you can visit Dietitians of Canada, Health Canada, and the Government of Quebec. So this brings us to the very end of my presentation. I would like to thank my supervisor, Mary Hendrickson, and preceptor, Maria Maiolo, for their generous and patient advices. And also thank you, my audience, for making your time for the event. Thanks for your listening. Lastly, I'd like to end my presentation with what Dr. Teresa Tam tweeted on Saturday. She said that less than 1% of the population has ever run a marathon, but now we are all a part of the COVID-19 marathon. Let's dig deep and give it our best effort. I hope you enjoy the presentation and stay safe and eat well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that fantastic presentation. We can take any questions now if anybody has. We already have one in the chat box. It says, could you give an example of a microbiome?
Yes. As I mentioned, gut microbiome is a good or proper gut microbiome can help with the immunity. For example, the food that has good microbiome, let's say yogurt, fermented foods. So fermented foods all have good bacteria. So when I use the bacteria, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing because there are good and bad differences. So for example, yogurt or fermented like sauerkraut, food like that. Yeah.
Perfect. We also have another one asking, what do you think about probiotics?
Yeah, that's interesting question. So probiotics, there's a lot of story if I'm going to open that chat box, that area. Long story short, probiotics has been there for so many years, like since Great World War II, I remember. So in our gut, the good bacteria, we call it probiotics. And we want to have a good amount of the good bacteria to bring us the health effects. So if you eat fermented foods, it automatically gives you the good bacteria into your gut, and that is what your body needs. But for the supplements, so this is another big part. It will depend on your own situation, like your health conditions, because the supplements is not for everyone. So if you're thinking about supplements, I would definitely recommend you to talk to your doctors and dietitians. So based on your own conditions and ask them which one or whether should I take supplements. But food is good.
Perfect. Somebody has a question here. Are prebiotics necessary for probiotics?
Yes, great question. Who asked that? It's super smart question.
Sue. Maybe Sue, if you would like to unmute yourself, maybe? Wait a moment.
Yeah. It's a great question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand. Do you hear me?
Yes.
We hear you well.
I understand that we have to feed probiotics with prebiotics.
Right.
They work together. So I'm confused of what I should do.
Yeah. So for prebiotics, what we can find from food, like what food gives us prebiotics, the food that have fibers, for example, vegetables like kales, carrots, or some fruits like apples, bananas, those have good amount of fiber. So prebiotics is actually just the fiber for our easier understanding. So when you inject fiber into your gut, it helps your gut environment become more rich for the good bacteria to work. So the good bacteria needs a nice environment in order for the little good guys to work. So eat fiber rich food like vegetables and fruits will help with that. And you're definitely correct. Probiotics and prebiotics, they are like sisters. They have to go together.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One more thing on that line is you mentioned fiber, and we always talk of two kinds of fibers. Mm-hmm. I forget now, soluble and insoluble. Mm-hmm. Yeah. More questions.
So what will be your answer questions? Are you wondering what are the differences between the two types of fibers?
Yes, I read about it. Well, when I get to the kitchen, I don't know if I'm using the right kind, the right way between soluble and insoluble to have a good gut health.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So two different fibers, that's correct, soluble and insoluble. So one will help you to, your bowel movement will help you with that. Another, they are all good for your health overall. So another one, we can find it from maybe oats or whole grain products that will make your bowel healthier as well. So when we eat food, I would say we don't have to clearly separate which one is which one. So as long as we eat majority food with less processed food, like whole grains, vegetables, and fruits, we can get the enough good amount of fibers for our daily needs. And they all are very useful and healthy for benefit our health. Yeah.
Okay, so one last is all bran falls into which one?
All bran?
Soluble or insoluble? All bran cereal.
Oh, whole grain or all bran soluble fiber. Yeah, it has a soluble fiber in there.
Can I add, Clara?
Hey, Mary.
All bran, the insoluble fiber is where it's not going to absorb water. So if you put it in a cup, you'd see it kind of floating on the top. It's like wheat bran, oat bran. And the all bran is going to have a high content of that insoluble fiber, which is why it helps with managing constipation. And the soluble fiber is like oats, where it absorbs water. And so there is always going to be the combination of the two in the different foods. And it's important to eat a variety. So it's great that you're eating some all bran, and I'm sure you'll be able to, work in oatmeal, apples, and those other things as well that will get the soluble fiber. And remember to drink water when you're trying to gradually increase your fluid intake. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, and I do drink a lot of water. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Perfect. And we did have another question here. It says, if you have any tips on how to keep bananas from getting ripe faster.
Yeah. So banana, when it's green, it becomes too yellow. It gives off the gas that I mentioned. So if you want to keep it not that ripe, just separate them, store them separately. So don't make them stay together. Separate those individually. So that will help it.
Perfect. Yeah. Are there any other questions for Clara?
Yes, it's Sue again. I had to arrive late for your lecture, and I wonder how we will get your flyer.
Yeah, so yeah, the flyer is in the email, the reminding email you received. It's supposed to be in your inbox already. So there are 3 documents in that email. One of the document is my flyer, so you can find it. And there are some hyperlinks in the flyer. So if you put your mouse, your cursor there, it will bring you to the links that I mentioned.
I also just put it in the chat box again. If it's easier just to click it for you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Caitlin.
No problem. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you one more time, Clara, for this fantastic presentation. As you can see from the chat box, everyone really, really enjoyed it. As I was saying, thank you and thank everybody for coming today. As usual, we all have our links down in the chat box. We have the link to our YouTube page in case you want to go back and rewatch this to get some more tips and tricks, or you want to watch a different Brainy Boomer event. We have the link there. The link to our Eventbrite page, because we've added some new events that will be very, very interesting. And we also have the link to a brief survey. We would love to hear some feedback about today's event or any other Brainy Boomer event that you've attended. We also have the link to our donations page. If you'd like to get some more information about MCSA or make a donation, you could just click the link in the chat box. Our next event is going to be Thursday. It's our exercise for seniors with Juliana Guerrero. That's going to be a really good one, so I wouldn't want to miss it. And just one more time, thank you so much and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Kaylin.